And they had Derek and Brandon and Samson all there. And the reporter said, "Oh, let's tape your arms," or whoever it was. And Samson just gave it wasn't like a careful tape. He just put it around the big part and it was easy 24.
Yeah.
And the reporter was like, "Oh, 24 inches." And I was like, God.
Yeah.
Because 24 is outrageously big for an arm.
To put that in perspective, for our average listener, do me a favor, measure your quad and see what you come up with and see how close to 24 listener. You are. You know what I mean?
Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. I'm Big Ron Partlow, and of course, I got Dusty Hanshaw and the producer, Scott McNally. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
Yes, and remember, ifbb.com. Get your ISO surge, get your all in, and everyone should get on the gear. Codes, Dusty and Big Ron. There you go. Or the BCAs or the Mind FK. Get your stuff. And save money. Have it delivered right to your door. Don't have to put socks. Don't have to put underwear on.
Nope.
You don't have to put clothes on. You just order, and then someone will knock, and you can wait for them to leave. You don't have to even talk to them or make any human contact whatsoever.
Do talk to them, put your clothes on, though. That's one tip.
Ideally, but you wait for them to leave. I hope this doesn't say more about me than it does about other people.
No, it says a lot about you.
It says a lot about me. Yeah. Don't have to have any human contact. You can just stay in your house. Yeah.
It's reckless goals.
I can't believe
101.
Not everyone's doing this. Yeah. So that's what I think. You should just order your stuff through immutant.com. There you go. Yeah. And I must give one quick little pump for those of you who haven't tried the Mind FK. Once again, one quick pump for the Mind FK. It's my favorite pre-workout of all time. Sometimes I just take it and then just stay home on a Sunday afternoon.
I've been known to use it with nicotine to work longer.
Right.
Listen, I'll say close. I'm going to say still jacked or jacked.
Right, the original jacked.
That was maybe my favorite, but this is close second there.
You haven't tried them on the same day.
With all the band stuff in it.
You remember things better than they were.
Yeah.
Like ex-girlfriends, Jack 3D, all those things.
I've been taking a full scoop of the Mind FK before I go ride my little bike. And it's perfect. I'm not I'm just super focused.
Oh yeah.
So it's good stuff. Play guitar on it.
All the
awesome.
I took a scoop, then I did a workout, and now I'm doing the show. So we'll see if I'm better. You guys tell us.
Yeah. No,
so
very
far
happy
we're off to a bad start, but okay, we'll see.
Okay. I did not have it yet today. I'm just.
I use the competitors
coffee
before this show just in case it's not good.
You're purposely going to bomb the episode now as an ad, kind of a subtle advertisement.
This is what I used before we ruined the show.
Dusty was really off today. You should have heard one of his suggestions for a topic. It was totally wrong. Yeah.
See, now we know what it was.
Okay, so we're gonna rock on with this episode, right, Scott? Yeah, rock on. Really get the goat horns going. Okay, full goat horns. I can't even say it.
You didn't use it either.
No, I know. I need it. Okay, Sass wins the Toronto Pro.
Yes,
fifth time's a charm.
Going to the Olympia. And obviously, friend of Sass. Although I'm still upset that I wasn't on. I don't think I was on the episode last time he was a guest, right? Wasn't he on?
Oh no, you're right.
You weren't here.
You weren't there. You allowed Dusty shined on that episode. Actually, it was a really good one too.
Sometimes he comes through clutch, and but I must say, I did a Mutant on a Mission at AW Muscle and Fitness in England last year, and Sasan was at the gym that day. Nice. And he got in on the episode, and we chatted a bit, and then I actually posted a shirtless photo with him. I was brave enough to.
That was brave.
Yeah, and I happened to be really lean at the time, so I looked okay. Yeah. So I was okay with it, but very happy about Sasan winning the Toronto Pro and qualifying for the Olympia, and I thought he looked fantastic. What a crazy physique he has.
Was this his best look of the year, would you guys say?
I mean
he's been
awesome.
consistent.
Sasan. I think he looks like that a lot of the time, doesn't he?
It was the right show.
I did hear some people say that, though, and I'd be curious. You guys tell us at home.
Well,
what did you think?
I know at FIBO, I believe, everyone heavily criticized the lighting at that show.
Yep.
and said that it was like horrendous, like just softened everybody up and really blurred everything. So I remember Sass came by the booth at FIBO. Remember that, Dusty?
Yep.
And I mean, the chat was that Sass looked absolutely mind-boggling, and then everyone on stage kind of looked the same condition. Yep. That was the show that Andrew Jack won.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who we also saw at FIBO, and was like, me and Dusty were like, oh God, look at his arms. Like,
well, it's funny because Ron goes, oh, look at that guy's arms. I'm like, because he had his head down. I go, that's Andrew. He goes, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I could have just seen the arm and been like, oh, that's Andrew. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. His arms are crazy. What did you say? Did you say that Samson's arms were, what did you say, Ron?
24.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that video on Instagram? I wish I would have sent it to you guys, but they were at Independence Gym.
Yeah.
Which is in Phoenix or Scottsdale?
Scottsdale, yeah.
And they had Derek and Brandon and Samson all there. And the reporter said, oh, let's tape your arms, or whoever it was. And Samson just gave it wasn't like a careful tape. He just put it around the big part and it was easy 24.
Yeah.
And the reporter was like, oh, 24 inches. And I was like, God damn.
Yeah.
Because, 24 is outrageously big for an arm.
To put that in perspective, for our average listener, do me a favor, measure your quad and see what you come up with and see how close to 24 listener. You are. You know what I mean?
Try to find something on your body that's 24 inches.
I got something.
Easy 24.
My head.
Easy 24. My head. Yeah. What's a skull measure? I mean, my neck is still, I think my neck's still almost 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely telling.
That's a farmer's
good point.
Neck. That is.
Yeah.
That's what you've got.
Farm kid neck. Kid neck.
So, Sasan, I got to tell you guys, just listening to everybody talk, because I talk to a lot of people that are into following the shows each year. There have been so many people that have wanted Sasan to punch his ticket to the Olympia. So many people that have been behind him. I had multiple people. I was really busy this weekend. I went to the Michigan State Championships, and I didn't get to follow along as close as I would have liked to have. But I had people texting me along the way, and they're like, did you see Sasan? Did you see Sasan? I think Sasan's going to win. VJ was texting me. One of my clients, and then I got multiple texts saying, he did it. So it's cool to see how many people were behind him and excited to see him get this,
Oh, yeah. Easily one of the most consistent guys. And the best part was he got stuck on his flights, had a huge layover, didn't have food.
You're kidding.
Had to make alterations on the fly, and now he has to get stuck at all future shows on the way there because that seemed to be the missing ingredient.
Right?
The inconvenience was what he needed to put him over the top. He was there for hours and apparently didn't have food for that point, and because obviously it wasn't a planned thing. So yeah, when you're him, it doesn't matter.
I have to repeat a short story about Dexter right now because it fits right in here. I remember seeing Dexter at FIBO one year. He was standing at the Pro-Tan booth, and it was on the Sunday, so it was kind of dying off. And he was waving because he was off in the corner, and he was waving. And I go, oh, hey. So I walked over, and I go, hey, Dex, what's going on? And he's like, man. He goes, how you doing? And we start chatting, and I go, hey, congratulations on Australia. Because he had just won Australia.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, congrats on Australia. You looked unbelievable. And he's like, oh, man, I barely made it. I missed my plane. So I had to take a flight that got in a couple hours before prejudging.
Oh, God.
And I go, no way. And he's like, yeah. Ate the airline food and everything. Had a Heineken on the plane. And just showed up, walked on stage. And I was just I go, Dex, you're a different animal. And he's like, yeah, can't worry about it, eh? You're hey.
If I'm going to eat airline food anyways, I might as well have a beer to go wash it down.
Yeah, I might as well have a Heineken with it. He said he had a Heineken on the plane, ate the airline food.
Yeah.
Showed up a couple hours before prejudging.
Dude. Yeah. It's like the reaction we watched with Sean Ray, and he was like, I don't really measure my food. I just kind of clean things up. I get all these things made from Sizzler each day. And, I just eat them. And, I eat more broccoli when I get closer to the show.
I don't think people know the when we say genetics, what that level means.
Yeah.
I had a guy, I can't remember who it was.
Durability
but
of condition.
I verified through Jose that this was a true story. But backstage at the USA's one year, Jose's sitting there just like, oh. The guy's like, you all right? You're not feeling good? He goes, no, man. He goes, and this is the day of, this is prejudging.
Yeah.
He's like, what? Are you sick? He goes, no, man. I was out all last night, drinking, hanging out. And then he proceeds to win. And this guy's like, I haven't missed a meal in a century.
Yeah.
No.
This guy was out just running Vegas before the USA's and then just shows up and beats everybody.
Can we get Chris Camere on here one day? Because I feel like Chris could outdo all of these stories. You know what I mean?
Chris has told me. Chris told me some crazy stories before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he was on stage at the O, still kind of rolling from the night before.
That's how he dried out, you know?
Oh yeah, he's still rolling. He was dancing until 7 a.m. one year, and he went on stage at the O at like 10 a.m.
Yeah, you got to dry out that way, you know?
Yeah,
That's how you...
yeah.
Let's not promote this to kids.
Yeah. No. That's so when we talk genetics, everyone thinks like, you know, structure, muscle tie-ins, muscle bellies, ability to get huge, you know, natural body fat levels, you know, that sort of thing. But there's also just like a durability with what you can do diet-wise and stuff. Like if you have every single food sensitivity under the sun, that's not great.
Yeah.
It's not helpful.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have other guys that are like, carbs are carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the idea that a carb might upset their stomach has never crossed their mind.
Right.
They're like, oh, it's 50 grams in this, 50 grams in this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And the same look occurs, and the ankles are tight and dry, and nothing, like it's just, that sort of stuff is also a genetic factor. It's one of the slides on the equalizer, you know, like when you think of a stereo with a 12-band equalizer on it.
Yeah, perfect.
You got muscle size, perfect skin, tie-ins, waist, like all that stuff. One of them is just durability with what goes in your mouth. You know, like to Dexter, that Heineken is, you know, 30 grams of carbs and a little bit of diuretic.
Right.
Where to me, that Heineken is like bloat.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, I'm gonna burp for an hour.
Right.
You know.
Why would I not have a beer on the flight that's going to get me there just in time to make it to prejudging?
Yeah, just, you know, that sort of thing. So,
hey, what do you say we check out some buys and tries pictures over at
Instagram? Let's look
Instagram?
at pics of Sass.
All right, good. Let's see here. I'm going to share this. Here he is next to Regan. I mean, Regan looked good, too.
Oh, always looks good.
These guys both looked incredible. And I mean, arguably, you could say, I mean, Regan's got the larger X frame, right?
Yeah, he's got the crazy structure, especially in the back double. Regan has like the crazy X in the back double. You know what I mean? Like with the waist and the taper and everything.
Yeah.
Sass is a smaller frame, not as wide in the shoulders, but the muscularity won this for Sass.
Oh yeah.
And apparently, I wasn't at this show. I stayed home because I have to leave on Wednesday for Vietnam, so I didn't go to this show.
Yeah.
But apparently, in person, Sasan's conditioning was definitely better.
It's
like
funny how the pictures do that sometimes.
Yeah,
I felt the same at Detroit. Like it looked different than what you saw in the pictures, you know.
So I will say this for Toronto lighting: that backdrop is very red.
Yeah.
Right, and it's sort of not the best coloring, I guess, for the color of the guys.
Yeah.
And the lighting is also a little bit. I feel like everyone in Toronto always looks like they don't quite have a lot of oil on, and it sort of equalizes everyone in the photos.
Right.
But when you're in person, you can see.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was messaging with people like, oh, this class looks close, because they also had the amateur show, right?
Right.
And I was like, this class looks close, and everyone was texting me back, that class isn't close.
Oh,
Right.
wild.
It was so as the photos kind of have that everyone looks equal sort of flavor to them.
Look at that hamstring drop on in Sass and that side tricep.
I think what they nailed at this show is he looks like he could pop. Like he's extremely full, which just made him look harder. Yeah. And that's even in the pics. I mean, you can just look at the left hamstring there. They're
both great in the glutes and hams.
Yeah.
Like really dialed, like, you know, and again, these pics don't exactly show the graininess, especially, you know, these aren't just fresh pics. They're posted to Instagram and then posted to YouTube.
Right. Yeah, right.
Like double compressed or
what
whatever.
What could go wrong with that?
Yeah.
I just can't understand. And Justin Shire went on a bit of a rampage about it on his Instagram stories. Why these promoters refuse to listen to the audience and to the fans with the colors of these backdrops. It's one thing to say you want to put the sponsors back there, but to make it red is horrific. Like, you wouldn't put red flooring down.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that just doesn't seem to matter. Yet when you go to Fuad's show, that's what everyone's talking about: the black backdrop, the black.
Well, the old
stage.
Iron Man formula.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. The same thing. Now the Olympia, they're saying they're going to do black. It's like, it's not harder to do a backdrop that's black than it does this weird ass red. I can't get past it.
You've got lots of room up above them for sponsors. Like, you can just go up 8 feet and you can blast the shit out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like hockey. The ice is blank. They just plaster the boards.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things.
I could see that.
Yeah. So
he
Sass
looks
looks great.
here,
I mean,
man.
you could tell he's dialed right in. I mean, that's a crazy look.
Look at those quads, dude. So much freaking leg.
Very happy for him, you know.
So he's going. We've got, dude, how many people are, at this point, it's almost like the top 10 is going to be crazy. I mean, even
nuts.
top 12, top 15.
Oh, God.
You know, it's like there's going to be battle upon battle, you know, battle for first, battle for second, battle for fifth.
What's the latest news with Hottie? Is this travel ban going to affect him?
Huh.
I assume so, unless there's some weird loophole for athletes. But I think if he was in a sport where the federation would take care of it, it would probably be fine.
Well, maybe you think Solomon's got somebody's number?
It would
I don't know that they care enough, because we've been down this road before with other athletes. So, you know, it's one of those things where, based on the things that have happened in the U.S., it sucks for him, but it's, in my opinion, it's not a bad ban. It just, people who are solid people doing normal life get screwed by it, and that sucks.
Yeah.
So you would think there would be a way with his regular travel, the fact he's done it so many times. I'm hoping there's a loophole there, because that would be brutal. That would be a huge loss to a show that he could very well win. I mean, I would never say he couldn't win the Olympia this year. No. Hottie, even when Hottie's third, it's almost a win. Do you know what I mean? Like, because remember the last couple times he's been there, you're like it's not like, oh, they're clearly going to go with him. Like the year Samson won, it wasn't like they're clearly going to go with Samson. You were like, I think they might, but Jesus, look at Hottie. Like, there's all that stuff always going on.
Yeah. No, what do you guys think? Back to Sass for a minute. So he has been competing like all season, right? He's just hitting show after show after show.
Yeah.
And I believe he still was working with Chris for this. You guys can correct me, you know, at home if I'm wrong. But you guys know Chris really well. How would Chris handle this to take some downtime only to plan to peak again for the Olympia, you know, toward the end of the year?
How would Chris handle this?
Yeah, what would you got in your experience with him?
In my experience, he would take a few days off and relax and spend time with the family, and probably tell him not to train for several days, maybe a week. And I mean, how many months out are we now from the O?
What are like so many? I mean, I want to say somewhere between 15
like
and
17 weeks or something.
Yeah.
So I would guess, if I had to put money down, Chris would tell him, don't train for a week. Don't think about the gym. Just spend time with Sass has kids, doesn't he?
Yep.
I mean, Chris would say that's probably the best thing for your mentality, is just spend time with the family and invest in that. And then he would probably kick him back into training, and it would, obviously staying on a tight diet so he doesn't go backwards. But I would assume the supplements would go right back to early prep. So way back down, right? Very conservative. Probably the amounts that most guys wouldn't even believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That like right down into like typical Aceto. That's not what he's taking territory, which we've all been there. I've been there. I remember Chris saying, take one Sustanon and send me pictures in 10 days.
Yep.
Oh God.
right?
You mean
10 days?
I mean one a day, right? One supplement on a day.
Right. No,
Hour.
Yeah. Take one. And
Yeah.
10 days later, I'm 9 pounds heavier and a bit leaner. And he's like, okay, take one more.
Yeah. Do it again.
Yeah. So we're into that territory, I think. And it would just be right back, fresh prep. But you're starting from already having striated glutes. So now your food is higher, cardio is lower, and you're just managing to hold that look into the ramp up again. That's what I would assume Chris would do.
Okay.
But, I only did 8 shows with him. So what do I know?
Yeah, what do you know?
Yeah.
Chris is I think what makes Chris a special coach, and any of the great coaches, is managing fatigue you don't even know you have.
Yeah.
Because when you're dealing with someone that's at the highest level mentally, that they're never going to say, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Because you get to a point where tired is a baseline, so it doesn't really mean anything, and you don't think about it. And I think that there's been many times that he has, me, Ron, a lot of other people, he's backed down or said, all right, you need to eat for a couple days. Let's not do cardio. And this is like 5 weeks out. And you're like, what? And he's like, no, just take a couple days, relax, don't train, don't do cardio. I'm going to up your food. And he's managing not what your body looks like now, but what it will look like in 3-4 days if he doesn't.
Right.
I think that is where his experience comes in, that just is game changing. Because you'll take those days and then you take your next set of pictures and you look and you're like, I'm bigger and harder and haven't trained or done cardio and I ate more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's nothing random about it. He sees something that's like, oh, I think we're teetering.
Yeah. He's also the type, I know Chris said to me once, I can't remember who he was talking about, but he had somebody resting. And they sent him a video of one of their competitors squatting 5 plates for reps. And he's like, this guy, look what he's doing.
Yeah.
And Chris was like, oh, that's good. Just let him burn all his fuses. And I remember also another time I sent him a picture of Kai Green one year. Kai was 4 weeks out and he was standing in his kitchen doing kind of a back shot with his arm up.
Yeah.
And it looked insane. And I said, fuck, look at Kai 4 weeks out. And Chris responded, big deal. Just means the cake is baked too early. And then sure as shit, Phil won again. He's like, it won't beat Phil. Phil pulled the cake out of the oven the day before the show and put the icing on it. Yep. And Kai's cake will be cold. And
he used to,
dry.
That's my favorite.
It was his analogies are so ridiculous.
That's a good one too.
He broke down that analogy for me one time and it was so good. He goes, I don't know anything about baking cakes. He goes, but let's say that to bake a cake is 20 minutes in the oven at 450.
Yeah.
He goes, you can't put the cake in there at 225 for 40 minutes. It doesn't come out right. He's like, you also can't be running late and double the temperature for half the time and have it come out right. He's like, it has to be just right to be perfect. He said, that's a prep.
Yeah.
It has to be just right. And
I love that.
And that's something that I've used. I used that probably last week because I had a client she's awesome, really driven. And she's like, I'm ready to kick it in. Let's kick it up. I'm like, it's not time. Yeah, but I feel good. I'm like, it's not time.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't worry.
Right.
You're not going to need to ask me to push you. I'm going to push.
So
when it's time.
Chris called me a few days ago, and you know how we say he doesn't say hello?
Yeah, just start
so
talking.
I see him. I'm chewing food, and I'm like, oh, that's Chris. So I answer it, and I go, hey. And he goes, why is it that when someone says something to me that's exceptionally stupid, I think, I'm going to call Ron. And so anyways, we chatted. And then at one point we were talking, kind of good old days talk. And I said, like that analogy that every prep is you're sailing to an island that you can see, but every prep is a little bit of a different trip because of the current and the wind. Mm-hmm. And there might be flat ocean, and then one day there might be big waves. So you have to kind of go that way so the waves bring you back to the island. and then one day a storm might hit while you're halfway to the island, and you wind up going around the backside of the island to come in. And he goes, "That's an amazing analogy. I love it." And I go, "Chris, that's your analogy."
I'm glad you like it still.
you said that whole thing to me in like 2010.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Did I? Oh, that's a good one." Like, it was just hilarious.
Classic.
Thanks for that gem, Ron. Well,
That's
I got
a great
it from
analogy.
you.
Chris, that's your analogy.
Hey, Dusty, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So Chris wasn't in like directly in charge of the type of training you did. Dusty did Dusty's training.
Right.
Tell me, so if you were in Sasan's position now, I mean, obviously Chris would probably tell you to take that time down. You wouldn't train. I know a lot of people are doing a lot more progressive overload nowadays, even into prep, and they're trying to stay as strong as they can during prep. How would you handle this next phase between now and the Olympia as far as training goes?
For him?
No, yeah. If you were in his shoes.
Oh, I would do exactly what he does, which is do exactly what you always do.
Okay.
I think that's the area where people mess up. It's like, it's the old saying, don't forget who brought you to the dance.
Yeah.
Like, people get confused and all of a sudden they want to change stuff. I didn't change my training the week of the show.
You kidding?
Like, just no changes ever.
So you're telling me that you were like, okay, I got 11 reps with 485 last week, so I'm going to get 12 reps today, and then I'm going to go to the show.
The only time we backed down at all, like when, and I mean, in hindsight, I should have done some of that, but I would have trained with the same intensity and that stuff. Whereas for me, I was still strong, so it was just another day.
Okay.
It seemed like more noise to adjust and try to map out the perfect training. It's like, this is what works for me. I'm not injured. My body feels good. Keep going. If your body's giving you signs that you need to make adjustments, you do. But other than that, in the way that he trains, yeah, he's going to do the exact same thing as soon as Chris gets him rolling again. And if anything, it's just going to be more of Chris pumping the brakes overall. And it's funny, but I've told this story before, but it just always makes me laugh. Chris sent me on one of my first preps, he said, train at 70% today. And I texted him back, I said, I don't know what that means. And he laughs and he sends back, he goes, I've only ever had one other person say that, and that was Evan Centopani. And he goes, so what I'm going to tell you is, look at your planned workout today, train exactly how you do, but only do 70% of it. I'm like, okay, I can do that. Because I'm like,
just the work sets, no
yeah,
warm-ups.
because he was he's like, it was just funny because I'm like, what is that? You are either training or you're not training. Like, I didn't know. I literally meant, I don't know how to gauge what 70% is. And he's like, perfect. We'll just lower your volume by 30%. I'm like, mathematically that's easy. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I can still go nuts, but I only get 3 sets today instead of 5. Okay, cool.
Right. What I'll sometimes tell people who like are in certain situations is, okay, like, what's your, let's say we're just pick an exercise like incline Smith machine press, right? Mm-hmm. Just for shits and giggles. Say, okay, what's your working weight? And they might say 3 plates for 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is like my hard ass fail set.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what's your prep weight? Like your last warm up.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, I do 2.5 plates for 5 as like a final feeler. And I'm like, okay, do 2.5 for 8. Right. And then move on.
I like that. Okay.
So like prep weight, but
and you're not taking that's a failure either. You're not taking that for 12
quite, just
now.
taking it to the slow rep, racking it, move on. You're not going to shrink at all.
Right.
And it's very, very safe. And, very low taxation, if you're worried about that or you're in a situation where that's a thing. So that was kind of what I would do maybe the last, few workouts. But,
most of your clients have brains. Then the rest of us are either unleashed or not.
And when it comes to a guy like Sass, do you remember when he was training with JP for a while and he said he actually had to tap out and quit training for a while because like that type of training just beat him up so bad, and everything on him hurt, and his knees hurt, and his elbows hurt, and everything hurt. That level of progressive overload, like, obviously JP's, JP, but that didn't work for Sass, and it actually totally fried him. And he said, he does better with a little bit more volume, and not doing all the forced reps and stuff. He trains by himself, so he's not burying a bunch of shit beyond failure and all that stuff. And look at his physique. I'm not going to tell him how to train.
Right.
I think the great thing about that story, though, was that he was getting great results.
Yeah.
And that's the part that most people, and I can say, I would not have had in my prime the ability to ignore the results, even if it was hurting. I'd have been like, it's working. Though. And he is smart enough to go, yes, I'm getting the results, but I can get those results in a different way that's smarter for me. And that's enormous. That's why training is not one size fits all, because it's not like he was looking and going, it's not working. Yeah. I'm getting bigger, I'm getting stronger, but, and that's why he can continue. He's better now than he was before he retired.
Yeah.
And he will be better in 2 years than he is now if he keeps going. So he has definitely found the sweet spot for his training.
Yeah, he strikes me as being in a very sustainable place,
Yeah. But the thing is too, it's not that he's not training hard. Look at the muscle. His muscle tells you his training is hard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a different look. It's not just weight. And I think that's where people get confused. It's like when they think of training hard or training heavy, they just think of weight. And it's like, no, for the kind of training he's doing, it's extremely hard and extremely heavy. He's just using a brain with it also, which a lot of us don't do very well.
You looking at me?
That was actually right into my own picture. Yeah. I was staring at him right there. The old has-been. Yes. So, do we have some questions, Scott? I have some loaded as well.
Yeah, I think we have a couple. We had a couple from YouTube last week. I will say, guys, everybody watching YouTube, I know Ron said like, share, subscribe, and he said the comment part. We get a lot of really great comments. We've been getting some awesome ones. In fact, Lee Priest left us another number of comments on our reaction video, Lee versus Sean, so that was cool. But leave us questions. Think of any good questions you have. Anything, could be serious questions, could be fun questions. I know Ethan left us a fun one. We'll have to get that. It's in the live stream. But what do you have, Dusty?
Actually, I have a good one from Paul, our client, Scott. He has a lot of stress going on in his life that's out of control, out of his control, I should say. So he's interested to hear how we have handled stress in our past. He says, we know it messes with our body. So what are some strategies to manage its impact, and manage our expectation whilst going through it?
All right. I'll take it.
Do it.
Someone else is jumping in.
No, you go first.
Yeah, I'll say this, that we can't get rid of life, right? You can't get rid of, you can't tell somebody well, I'm really stressed from work, it's super demanding and long hours. It's you got to do what you got to do sometimes, right? But, and I've learned this a lot from Victoria, you have to, when you know that you're under more stress, then you have to beef up on the anti-stress stuff, you know what I mean? Making sure that you get to bed a little earlier. Oh my God, she's got me on the schedule now. So when we first started dating, we were going to bed at 10:30. And now we're at 9:15, the TV goes off and we get ready and we're in bed by 9:30, into sleep by 9:45 every night. And I'm up by 6:30. It feels really good. But, getting sleep, being able to do all the sleep hygiene stuff that we've talked about 100 times and you hear everywhere else on Instagram. Hydration is another, I think, key factor when you're dealing with a lot of stress, that our bodies burn through more water. Using a good electrolyte during that time is going to help you to hold more fluid. And also, too, let's say stress isn't usually the same day to day to day. It's I had a really stressful day at work today. maybe you make some adjustments for your training that evening. Like, maybe I don't do my hardest workout. Maybe I have the ability to switch things up. Like, was I going to do legs tonight, or was I going to do this pump workout? Well, I'll do the pump workout instead, and I'll save legs for tomorrow. If you can make those kind of adjustments, being flexible, I think, is huge. And one last thing, I had a woman named Kate D'Annunzio on the show a couple times, and she works with individuals and companies to help them with embracing change. And she's a really good bodybuilder too, by the way. And I asked her, like, what's the number one thing that you see in successful people? And she said, resiliency. People who can adapt. And you guys know what it's like as a coach and as an athlete. There's times that I've responded to a change and I'm like, oh my God, I was doing this before, now I have to do this. If you can stop and just be like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this now, and just accept it. The faster you can accept a change, like, the less stress you're going to deal with and the more successful you're going to be. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I guess, I agree with everything Scott just said there. Resiliency, obviously, adaptability, that's huge. Also, like, sometimes just turn your mind off and check the boxes.
Huh.
Like, some people, I've seen them, like, their stress levels are high, and I've been there too, where I'm like, oh my God, I'm dealing with all this stuff, and I still have to get my shoulder workout in. And, like, you know what? At the end of the day, you can mindlessly work out.
Yeah.
Like, you can work out without using your brain at all. You can turn your brain completely off and just go in and check the boxes. Okay, I've got 2 sets of laterals. Go hard. Boom, done. And move quick. I got to press. I normally use a stack, press, failure, done, move on. Next exercise, rear delts, boom, failure, move on. And you can just check the boxes mindlessly. You don't have to bring up all this mental energy again to devote to this thing that you've done a million times. Like, I get it. We all love to be in the moment for our workouts. It's part of our enjoyment of the day and everything like that. But when it comes to actually bodybuilding, like, I've told the story before, how I moved out of my buddy's basement one day, like, because his wife and I had a little disagreement, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna move out. And I just packed up all my shit and moved out. And I went and trained at like 10 o'clock at night that night. And I had 30 minutes to train. I just smashed through a workout, and I just mindlessly got it done.
Yeah.
Done. Like, it's done. Move on. Like, you can check boxes sometimes just to get through what you have to get through without adding more stress or worrying about it so much. At the end of the day, a lot of stuff isn't that big of a deal. Just get it done.
You guys are both good at that too. Like, when we've done things, either interviews with people or events, like going to one of the big expos and we're going to do a live podcast or whatever, like, you guys are always so freaking chill. Even when it is something that's kind of stressful, you're just like, oh, okay, we'll do this, and it I think is, it's kind of like, well, you can handle it this way or you can handle it this way. Either way, what I mean? The same thing is going to happen. So, yeah.
I think the only thing I would add is, and this is just how I handle everything in life, is this stressful thing in my control?
Yeah.
If it is, then what do I have to do to eliminate it, to handle it? If it's not, fuck it.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. And I think the area where Paul and a lot of people get caught up is, in your head, you're saying, I'm stressed and I'm going to the gym. What's this going to do to my results? Is this going to have an impact? And you're actually compounding the stress. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you just say, hey, these things that are going on, in his case, I know what they are. They're completely out of control. They're going on either way. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna do like Ron said. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna tear it up, but I'm not gonna worry about, because I think half of the reason, like when somebody goes in and they're thinking like, I hope that I'm as strong today because I'm under all this stress. I'm like, well, you're already not, because you've brought that possibility in. It's like, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna train my face off like I always do, and what's gonna happen is going to happen. It's the same thing. You do your first working set, and say you're a crazy logbooker.
Yeah.
And today you were off. That doesn't mean that the next movement will be, unless you decide, oh, I'm weaker today.
Right.
It's like, no, you were weaker on that. Maybe the next movement is strong, but I really think that comes down to just compartmentalizing everything and moving on. And like you said, Ron, if you push yourself through the workout, whatever it is, And I think that's where people like really have an issue. Oh, okay. That's it.
Yeah.
That's why people Nikki gets annoyed with me because it doesn't matter what's going on in life. I'm like, okay, we lost everything today. Okay. Guess we need to get an apartment. Anyways, so we're going to have dinner?
Yeah. I've noticed another thing too when it comes to actual training in this retirement phase that I'm in. Because like when you're cranking on the cycles and you're eating like crazy and you're really big, you think if you have one workout where you don't go hard, you might lose something.
Yeah,
all of it,
right? and obviously you want to keep the mentality where you're going to be as consistent as humanly possible. But now that I'm in this retirement phase, like I've had a whole bunch of times where like maybe Braden is working late, so I got to train by myself today. And then I got stuck like fixing a piece of equipment, or something happened with the gym, or I'm busy doing something, and I wind up with like 30 minutes to train at a weird time.
Yeah.
So I literally go in and I'm like, I just got to get the fuck out of here. And I just get on like a plate loaded press and do 3 hard sets and do 3 hard sets of pec deck, call it a chest workout.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even pay attention to weights or nothing. And then the next week when I come in to train with Braden, I'm just as strong.
Yep.
Sometimes stronger.
Sometimes stronger. Like sometimes I'll get a rep on something. Braden will be like, oh, you're actually up a rep. I'm like, fuck, that's funny. Mm-hmm. So because you expect like on the TRT, you'd expect to be even more fragile in a way.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you'd expect in not eating as much, or you'd expect to, be even more difficult to hold your current level or whatever. But no, just continue to keep moving on as if it never happened. Yeah. And I sort of think, man, you're a lot more durable than you give yourself credit for. And I think when I was like really in the thick of it, I was a little too paranoid about little things, like any little change or any little alteration at all. You know, and you realize that these pros, like guys at like Lunsford's level and, Samson and these guys that are traveling all over the world and in different time zones constantly and doing all these appearances and all these obligations and stuff, they know that. Mm-hmm. Like not every single workout is completely identical for them. They're training on all this different equipment. They're going to a gym that says all this brand of equipment one day, and then this stuff isn't there the next workout, and then the next workout they're got to use this, and they're all over the place, right? And they're able to just make it work and not worry about it constantly, and that's part of being durable.
That's you gave me a great segue into another question that I had here. Looking back at your competitive careers, what are some things that you wish you'd have done differently or just looked at differently?
I was really dogmatic for a long time about training exactly the same way all the time. And I think that I was always generally on the right track with a lot of philosophy. Mm-hmm. Like I always chose exercises that I think for the most part I chose exercises where I was very well braced. I've talked about how I wasn't a fan of like I didn't think lunges were the best because you couldn't necessarily push yourself as hard because of stability and all that stuff. So I would always choose like braced exercises where you could really exert yourself. I would always choose, I did general training philosophy. I trained really hard and blah, 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 blah. Moved weights, I think, well for the vast majority of the time I was training, but I was just really dogmatic. Like, I was to the point where for a lot of years, like even doing one extra set, I was like, well, I can't, that's not on my plan, or one less set. Well, no, I can't do that either.
Right.
Where I think I should have been a lot more flexible with stuff. I trained through, my main thing was I trained through aches and pains I shouldn't have.
What about you, Scott?
I would say that some of the things, and it's kind of cool because these are things that I can help other people not make the same mistakes, you know? Like one guy who is doing a show in November, and we're in a position now where he can go out and have a cheat meal. And he was like, oh yeah, man, my wife and I, we went out and we got these burgers and fries that we really like, and we took them to our favorite lake and ate them there. And I was like, that's awesome. And I said, let's keep the cheat meal in as long as we can. By the way, guys, he's got like lines all through his legs already, and it's like we aren't even starting to diet yet. And I have him just kind of slowly coasting down, but I know he's still growing at the same time. And we're going to try to keep doing this as long as we can. But I said, eventually there's going to be a point that we can't have the cheat meal anymore, probably. And when that time comes, don't stop spending that quality time together. You know, I think that being in prep,
you can bring your diet food to the lake.
Hey, you can bring your diet food to the lake, or, you know, I've had people too that like I've let them go out and get like a chicken breast and a green salad, and they might even eat lower calories than they would have normally for that meal, you know, but it gives them an opportunity to go out and do something. That at the end of the day, though, it's not about the food, it's about that quality time that you guys are spending together. And I don't want somebody to go through a prep and feel like, you know what, I feel like I really neglected this aspect of my life. You know, maybe you can't give 110% to every aspect of your life all the time, and prep is kind of part of that, but you know what, you can still do something. So anyway, that was one thing that I wanted to share with him, because I didn't even want to do that kind of stuff. You know, I kind of I looked at it as like, I got to be locked in, you know, I'm just going to stay at home. And it's like, you know what, that kind of stuff, it doesn't have to be that way. And I think that longevity-wise, if you can get outside of that, you'll enjoy bodybuilding for longer.
And so will your family.
Yeah, right.
The thing that I thought of when I saw that question was, looking back, I did not enjoy every phase of the process enough. Like, for any of you guys that are listening that have a dream of winning an overall at a bodybuilding show, and you're nowhere near that yet, the phase you're in right now is awesome. And the time you're in right now, and hanging out with your friends in the gym, and the day-to-day, I have years I don't remember. Yeah. Like, because you were so focused on the chase. And it's funny, but I'm sure, Ron, you've seen this too. Brad Marchand, that's playing for the Panthers right now, he keeps reiterating that the thing he's doing at this stage in his career is being very mindful of how awesome the moment is. He says he has moments in his career, entire series that he played, that they won, that they did well, that he remembers nothing about, because he was just chasing the win, chasing getting the Stanley Cup. And it was funny because I listened to it, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what he's talking about. Yeah. You know, and not just in the bodybuilding, and being fortunate enough to travel the world and do these things, like, yeah, you're just doing them. You know, it's kind of like, it's the same with your kids. They're not going to be 6 forever. So it's like, you really want to soak up that time, even when it seems like a hassle, because when they're 15 and they don't want to hang out with you after school, you're going to go, oh man, I remember how I used to get irritated because they always wanted to play. And now they don't want to play at all, you know? So I think that there's a lot of that in life, but definitely in bodybuilding, where the moment you're in right now is an awesome moment, and the future moments will be too, but make sure you're in the one you're in now, and soaking it up, so you can look back and say, man, that was a great period that I didn't skip. Because in bodybuilding, you're talking about years. I mean, you want to find out if you're any good at this, you got to devote a decade to it. You don't want to forget about years 1 through 3.
Yeah. I got one more. And that is, and this is one that I truly do regret, and that is that I didn't stop to take more pictures when I got into shape. That because my idea was, you know, when I competed, some people, they'll wait and they'll say, I'm not going to compete until I'm a super heavy. And my perspective was, I'm going to compete, and that's going to be an outside catalyst to help me drive to continue pushing harder and doing better. And it definitely did. But I'd compete, and then I'd say, okay, now this will be my opportunity to get to the next level. And instantly back into growth phase, like instantly, you know? And I wish that I would have taken time to hire a photographer, do some cool pictures. And I know that there are a lot of people doing pictures now, you know, Instagram, social media, all that stuff. Like there's a marketing aspect to it. But I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about every phase of your physique. Yes, you might be better next year, because that's what I had in my head. Oh no, I just got to go grow my quads. Like, you know, when I have better quads, then I'll take pictures. No, take pictures now. You don't know if this might be your last year doing it. Not to mention, if you do have better quads, it'll be really cool no matter what. 20 years, 10 years, 5 years down the road to have just those. It's not even the memories, but having, I don't know, what is it? Having the document of what you took your physique to. Because if you've made it to a show, even if you took dead last, you've pulled an incredible feat that most people will never achieve. You know what I mean?
Scott, I have no pictures from competing of my entire career.
Yeah.
I never paid for photos, like when they
Me either.
offered them at
I
shows.
never did once.
I was like, I don't need those. And same with you. It was like, I'm not good enough yet. And when I look back, I'm like, I have a couple in like my mom's backyard that are like, this is me when I started. But I wish I had 500 of those for the whole phase. Because it's funny that the gym did a thing. They were like, get a picture from when you competed, a stage shot, and bring it into the gym. And my first thought was, I don't really care. And the second thought was, I don't even think I have one.
I don't think I have one I like.
You know, so those are
also too,
definitely good things.
I'd be like, you know what? I'm holding water. You know, I went out to eat, and now I'm holding water, so I don't want to take the pictures because I was better yesterday. So, and then, you know, just like, no, take the pictures. You're still awesome.
Well, 3 days from now, you're going to be 30 pounds up, so let's not do that. You want me to keep firing off some more?
Yeah, what else you got?
Yeah.
All right. This one I thought was good. Based on the last 5 pro shows, is it safe to say we can put the idea of politics and professional bodybuilding to sleep?
Yeah. It's ludicrous. I hate it when people say politics at some of these shows. Like, these judges aren't thinking like that. Like, Jesus.
Reaching for your
and
wallet,
if it was
Ron.
politics,
back in the
sorry,
reaching for your wallet back in the IFBB.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's us. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Jesus. Yeah, I know. It blows me away. I mean, I know these judges. They don't even talk to each other all year. They show up at the show like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they sit down at the table and they judge a show. Like, and I've talked to lots of judges where they're like, "Yeah, I was surprised that guy won. I had him second."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or I had that guy first. I don't know why he didn't win. I was shocked when they announced him second. Like, people think that there's this grand scheme of things. It's just not like that.
It's funny because it's in every sport. You know, because obviously I follow hockey really closely, and if there's a bad call, that's the NHL's dying for a Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup. I'm like,
game one.
They give a shit.
So that was funny because remember game one, the Oilers won in overtime on that beautiful power play goal, right?
Yep.
And when that guy shot the puck over the glass, every single ref on the ice simultaneously put their hands up.
Yeah, they all knew.
They're like, "Oh, that's a delay of game. Like, we have to call it."
Yeah, they don't want to
all
call
of
that.
them. They didn't even look at each other. They didn't even want to call it, but they're like, "Oh, I mean, every single person in the building saw that. That's a rule."
Yeah.
And then after the game, like, Oilers only won that because refs put them on a power play. Fucking refs looking for a Canadian team. It's like, there was no meeting. You watch 5 hands go up at the same time.
When the Panthers bench went like this.
The whole Panthers bench went, the Panthers coach went, like that. And every single Oiler went, like instantly, because there's no way that's not getting called.
Yeah.
Like, they'll let a little elbow up in the corner go in overtime. They'll let a lot go in overtime. They'll let a lot of rough shit, little face washing in the corner go. They'll let these guys play hard. They'll try not to call penalties in overtime.
They don't let it. And the guys know they'll let it slide.
They'll let a bit slide.
They push each other harder.
They want these guys playing. They
want them to decide the game. They don't want
they don't want to call every little tiny thing and make it like, fuck, you know. Because, you know, a power play goal in overtime to win the game, that's a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? They don't want to call penalties on these guys. But man, when you shoot the puck over the glass, it's a rule.
Yeah, they don't have a choice.
It's not
It's not optional. It's like
no. So
you can look the other way on a holding the stick or this or that here and there if it doesn't damage the play. You can't look away from those, but that's
it's a delay of game penalty.
Completely normal. But that I really enjoy that Tyler's taking the time to do the social media and the explanations.
Yeah, Tyler's
cool.
explanation, like
he's
the
really breaking it down awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you can still claim politics, then you're just not paying attention.
Yeah, like Tyler even said, I had Nick winning.
Yeah,
and Nick didn't win.
Yeah.
So like
it is though. Look, so if the puck goes over the glass, the puck goes over the glass. If Nick Walker's back is not quite as lean as this
Subjective.
guy, it's a different thing.
But it's still it's still just listen. If I'm watching Ron on stage and I want him to win, even if I don't mean to, in my head I'm thinking of all the reasons he should win.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking why the other guy could win. And that's what I tell my clients all the time, because I have clients, they'll send me pictures after a second place and they're like, look at my quads compared to his and look at my this. And I'm like, no. If you want to become a better bodybuilder, don't look at why you should win. Look at why he could have won.
Yeah.
Like, find the reasons that they might have thought he was better.
Yeah.
And then you can become better. Like when I didn't win the overall for Junior USA or Junior Nationals. Everyone thought I was going to win. I mean, it was on MD, it was everywhere, and I didn't win. And as soon as I didn't win,
MD's Muscular Development used to be a website for those people. Yeah.
If they don't know what those are anymore. But I did. I immediately looked at Matt, the guy that won the overall, and I go, "Oh, I see it. He's pretty.
Matt,
he's put together. Do you like apples? Do you like oranges? Bam." And it didn't slow me down. Matt Loudon, great bodybuilder, and I to this day have zero issue with
Not Matt Lauer, the NBC TV host.
Well, he was also a great bodybuilder, but a lot of people don't know that. So no, that's those are those factors.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's one from a guest that I thought was cool. What is the best part of being retired from competitive bodybuilding?
Oh, the best part? I get to do other fun stuff without caring about all the bodybuilding, regimentation that I used to be a part of.
Yeah.
I mean, I got out of bodybuilding, like I'd say the last few years I was in it, it was definitely work, and I was looking forward to being done.
Right.
So I maybe hung on a little too long, but managed to make it worth my while, I guess you could say, in that way. But I mean, the best part now is like, I also don't care as much. Like, we all have some body dysmorphia, and I still got plenty left over.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oops,
but I still got plenty left over. But I used to look at things wrong with my physique as like it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
And now I look at things wrong with my physique, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of a battle scar from all the stuff I went through. If you're a NFL football player and you got like, a shoulder surgery and a hip surgery and stuff, you're not like going to be you're not going to be self-conscious about those scars because they're like part of your story.
Yeah.
So I got the messed up lat and fucked up calf and stuff, but I'm starting to get like a lot better with just the fact that it's just, hey man, I took my body farther than most people could ever dream of. And that's just, I wore some shit out, and so trying to get past all that stuff has been, I'm really happy to not be so like, I look at some people now and I think, well, I hope they enjoy it while they're in it, get the most out of it, but I hope they also can get out of it after they're done.
Right. That's hard to do.
Like I was able to.
What about you, Scott?
I would say the time-consuming aspect of having to do everything that it takes, and of course, you can make it work. But I have a really demanding day that I would not be able to do competitive bodybuilding at the level that I would want to be able to do it and do all the other stuff. Like I would have to make some
concessions.
What?
concessions.
Yeah, I'd have to like change things around a little bit, you know. So there's that aspect. Also, so unlike you guys, my struggle was always in trying to get bigger. So the off season to me, and unfortunately I had like a real physical job for like 5 years, and it was like in my best bodybuilding time too. So I'm constantly stuffing food, and then walking it off, working it off. And I did a lot better after I stopped doing that, you know, and was working from home. But there were a lot of years that I was just like always feeling stressed that I needed to eat more. And my off season oftentimes felt like I was always falling a little bit short. And it's not a good feeling. And I know other guys that are like that. Like it's the guys with the real fast metabolisms that it's like no matter what you do, you feel like you should have done a little bit more today for food, you know. So it's a battle. And then the contest season was always easy, you know, because now you get to feel like you eat like a normal person. You're not bloated all the time.
I was gonna say my biggest thing was I have not been full since I retired. Like, I refuse to feel stuffed.
Yeah.
Nikki knows, like, I'll eat, and I still eat a pretty good amount.
You do. I've seen
food.
you put away a lot. What I would qualify as a lot, actually, of food.
Yeah.
But when I get done eating, like we'll be at a dinner, and I'll eat a bite and I'll go, okay, I'm satisfied. I literally will call the waitress and be like, can you take my plate? Because I don't want to eat anymore, and if it sits here, I probably will. And I do not ever want to feel full again. 15 years of being either stuffed or starving.
Yeah.
I don't want to be full ever again. I laugh because people get ready for the holidays and they eat until they're going to burst. And I'm like, oh no, one plate, maybe 1.5.
Yeah.
Good. I do not miss looking at a plate of food completely full at the moment. And I haven't started eating and going, this has to go down.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how it's going to.
Yeah, I accidentally, that's funny you mentioned that. I just recently stuffed myself. And all of a sudden, I realized, oh shit, I'm not feeling good. This is how I used to feel all the time. And I like literally put my food down. And I was like, oh fuck. And I like sat back and I was like, and I was so turned off. I was like, I hate this feeling. It was like I was all of a sudden 320 pounds again and just feeling like bloated and gross. And I sat there watching TV with Emily. We like finished the movie and I was like, it took all the way to the end of the movie for me to feel better. Yeah. I was like, oh. And then I was like, wow, that was that old feeling. I got that old feeling. that good old regular everyday 3 times a day feeling. I hated it. Yeah. So,
all right, so the counterpart to that question is, what was the hardest part of retiring and changing your life?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, like I said, I was so ready to do it that it wasn't hard. Like I remember the first thing I loved was I was just like not tied to food anymore. I had 4 meals today. Oh well, got a lot of shit done.
Right.
I was like, oh, my incline press went down a bit. Well, that's going to go down a bunch more. Like I was ready. I was ready. And I think that's why I was also older, you know, and we'd opened the gym. So I had all this other stuff to do. And I was like, that's okay. My life's moving forward here. Like I don't need it to be here. I'm going this way now. And so, yeah. And then picking up hobbies. And I think I was just at a spot where I actually relatively had an easy time. A little, maybe some of the body dysmorphia at first, you know. I remember certain t-shirts. Like I remember when I went from a 4X to a 3X, I was like, my arms aren't filling these shirts out anymore. I went down to a 3X. But then by the time I went from a 3X to a 2X, I was kind of laughing about it. Oh, I'm a 2X now. Oh, wow, here we go. Like I realized I'd kind of gotten past a lot of it.
Right. Scott?
I see the guys who, they're like, well, once I'm done, then I'm going to intentionally size down. And I think it's a matter of like taking control versus like, Ron, you're talking about how, well, shit, it's just kind of happening to me. You know what I mean? And I think there's an element of, and for you especially, like you went out on your terms. And I think that that's a big thing. It's something I've kind of looked into a lot in the past 5 years is, although I was never going to do anything huge, and I didn't ever like officially retire, and it kind of was in the back of my head, I'm probably not going to compete. But then when I got to 240 or close to 240, and I was like, well, if I get to 240, that might be a different physique on stage, because I just don't want to put the same physique on stage again as I had in the past. Yeah. And then I got sick, and then from there everything went downhill, and I had to accept it. So I would say for me, it wasn't quite on my terms, and I think that's the thing you have to look out for in athletics, in any sport, when you're really passionate about it, is, go out on your own terms as best as you can. Know when it's time to take your exit, because eventually if you don't, it will be taken for you, And I'm grateful that I'm not trying to still be big. I still would like to be, bigger if I could, but I'm happy to like size down. I'm in a 1X now. I was a 2X, and now I'm a 1X now that I've been dieting, and it's a little uncomfortable, I'll be honest, but I'm okay with it. It's good.
Yeah. For me, the hardest part was figuring out what I wanted to look like. Because it was weird. I mean, you spend all your time, we've talked about this many times, what you looked like in May was based on when your next show was.
Yeah. If
your show was in June, well, then you were peeled. And if your show was in a year plus, you were heavy. And it never bothered. Like, some people are like, can't wait to get lean so I look better. I never cared. I was like, today is based on whatever the next show date is. So when I got done, I was like, I don't even know what I want to look like. Like, choose my own look. And it was really hard, because then I would commit to like, all right, I'm going to lean down. And then 2 days later or 1 day later, I'm eating bullshit. I'm like, okay, I don't know why I'm doing that. And I was like, what, maybe I'll put some size back on.
Yeah.
And then it'd come time to eat a meal. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, why can't I even commit to anything? I can't. Where did Dusty go that just flips the switch? And it wasn't until I just realized, like, I just need to let myself go, like Ron said. And then at some point something will click, and I'll start eating a certain way and looking a certain way and be okay with it. And that was it. But that was a 2-year process of like, how do I just accept where I'm going to be and what's the look I like, whereas now it's like, I want to be leaner than I was, but being small, I've definitely determined is going to be a decision that requires not training, not eating. Like, it'll be very hard. Do we have any questions off the chat yet, or no?
Yeah, I've got one that I wanted to make sure we threw in.
Yeah, I don't want to be just rattling these off without it, so go ahead.
All right. All right. And this is from Ethan. He said, if you had one set that you could do before you are unalive, like, I'm going to say a death row set, like the last meal of sets, but for a set for a specific exercise, pick the machine, the movement, training partner, and a gym. You get the full thing, the full package.
I would do, hey man, I'd just go to my happy place. I would do, am I healthy?
You're very healthy.
Yeah, there's nothing, and even if you're not, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to have to worry about training after this.
Yeah. You can destroy a
You just
joint.
have to get through the set. Yeah.
Yeah, just have to get through the set. Well, I figure if I'm going to be unalived,
Yep.
then I want to get that ultimate feeling of being alive, which is leg day.
Yep.
That's, I think, why we all love
birthday leg days.
Crushing a birthday or a Christmas day leg day. Like back in the day, I used to always do that. Is just, there's nothing like after those big sets, you're like, holy shit. And I also used to have that like mentality, like before a big set of hack squats, I'd be like, if something happens during this set, I guess it happens.
Yeah.
Right? A little Dolph Lundgren, right?
If he dies, he dies.
If he dies, he dies. That sort of thing. So I would do a set of hack squats, heavy ass set of hack squats, maybe, to obviously an absolute failure with a couple of forced reps. Maybe I'd pick a weight where I'm shooting for like 10 reps, so it's like some grinding there, and really got to dig deep, load that thing up. And hey, Braden's been training with me for like 6 years now. He's been a great partner. I'd just do it at West Coast Iron with him like any old Tuesday. And if I make it through, then I get my one last steak and fry meal with a little pizza.
There you go.
And yeah, there we go. Piece of dairy milk chocolate, and then
one piece.
Cheers.
I like that.
Scott.
Well, I just trained at West Coast, the other week. So I'll say that I'll train at West Coast Iron with you guys.
Show the shirt.
Oh yeah, I got the shirt. I like this shirt
There you
too.
go.
This
Nice.
is I like the earth tones. You know what I mean? It's a good
matches
look.
your flannel. That's very, very matchy match. I think you picked that color for that flannel.
I didn't know I did, but I think you're right. I did.
Yeah.
Subconsciously.
West Coast Iron, and you're going to have to get a transformer bar because we're doing safety bar squats.
I have a safety bar for now.
It's got to be a transformer bar. We'll get it shipped in. I'll book my flight.
It is for his death fund.
Yeah,
so
all of this too. If this is like a death row thing, I think I'm buying myself some time. You know what I'm saying? It might take 7 to 9 weeks to get that bar out there.
In.
Yeah,
it's stuck in customs right now.
yeah. Tariffs.
Yeah, tariffs. Okay.
I like it.
Fair enough.
So I don't think that mine is actually possible, but since I can make it anything I want it to be, Ron and I would recreate our back day at Dino's.
Back day.
Oh,
because that was like that is my workout I remember for the rest of my life. It was the whole scene of the entire thing,
the whole night.
Yeah, it was. And Ron and I, it was
Including
great
the meal.
too. You'll love this, Scott. So I tell Ron, all right, let's do some dead stop rows, and the gym is slammed.
Yeah,
and you've been to Dino, so I mean it's slammed. There's not enough to use. So Ron goes, I've never done these before. I'm like, okay, perfect. Let's go today, and we both go after those brutally. And then we get done, and first off, during the sets, the entire gym stops.
Yeah,
and we have 50 people yelling at us. Dino saying his one-liners that I can still hear in my mind. We get done and we look up and the gym is still slammed. So I look at him, I go, now we do regular barbell rows? He's like, sure.
And mind you, I had sort of like not been doing a lot of like bent over rowing. I'm a little retired, a little bit tapped out. I'm like, okay. So we just did dead stop barbell rows and then non-dead stop barbell rows, like back to back,
Yeah.
So it was grueling, but I still love it. I climbed up on the chair and I filmed that set from above.
Yep.
And I still remember counting them out real loud. You can hear me in the video.
Yeah.
8, 9, 10, and you can hear Dino, come on, Dusty, people dream of doing the things you do, or whatever he says to you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is my favorite workout of all time, and I've had some awesome ones. But that was definitely one of those moments that I knew when it was happening. I'm like, this is that moment. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
great session.
Today's the day.
I've seen
one of my all-time best workouts.
I've seen Dusty peer pressure Ron into lifting heavier weight than I think he would have otherwise. Like I wasn't training hard or much at the time, but when you guys did the Mutant Mansion and Mutant brought me out for a couple days, I watched you guys shooting some video and you guys were doing some T-bar rows and you put a few plates on there and I could tell, you watch somebody, you can tell when it gets heavy, and I could tell, Ron, when you would have stopped. And Dusty put like several more plates on after that, and you got up. I could see you. It took literally. You turned it on. You like really. I watched you turn on like the old school thing that day, and do a set that I don't think you would have done otherwise, because it probably wasn't a smart idea anyway. No. But you still did it, and you did it well too. You did it well too.
Braden notices that occasionally too. He'll go, "Oh, that was one of those sets."
Yeah,
like I'm not going to do that next week.
It was easier to not take the weight back off the bar.
Yeah,
yeah. It's like one of those things,
is
right?
where you go. But if we have to remove these, so let's just do it as it is.
Yeah.
No, those were great.
I've got one question.
Fire.
So I got it from a female listener. I must say I was contacted by 3 female listeners this week. 2 of them who trained at my gym. One moved away, but and it was just great to hear from 3 female listeners, like, you know, that they watching our show and really appreciated the motivation and getting them through cardio and helping them through their preps and that sort of stuff. And because I think, you know, we still wonder why anyone watches this show, really. But one of the questions was, what are your recommendations for choosing? I hear you guys talk about efficiency. I'm just trying to, it was a bit wordy, so I'm just narrow it. She hears us talk about efficiency, and what do we recommend for making sure that we choose the exercises that they can get the most out of for putting muscle on their body? Because they see some girls doing all these exercises that none of the guys do, right? And, you know, all these sorts of, you know, from curtsy lunges to, you know, center band, kickback type of stuff. And just wondering, what do we recommend? What do we look at to choose an exercise to make a muscle grow? Is kind of the wording.
When I look at a female, and when I say bodybuilder, I mean anybody who wants to put on muscle mass for whatever sport,
from wellness to bikini,
doesn't
to
matter.
All that stuff.
Then I think you got to keep it simple. Like, what would a top bodybuilder do to make his back thicker? Do that. There's some confusion that females' muscles are different. We have the same muscles.
Right.
So the best stimulus for a guy to put on to put tissue in a certain area is the best stimulus for you.
Right.
You know, so I there's a place for certain exercises. There's a spot for a kickback. I'm not saying there's not.
Right.
But there's also a spot for a heavy ass squat.
Yep.
And you need to do those compound movements, those meat and potato movements that guys do to get size, and then toss that stuff into the end if you feel like you still need it. But there's a lot of confusion because when you do a glute kickback on a cable, real controlled, you're gonna feel the isolation on that glute, and you're like, this is working my glute. It's not working anything else because I'm doing it perfectly.
Yeah.
And yes, it is. But if you think that a ass to grass squat with 225 at 135 pounds is not hitting your glutes, you're out of your mind. It's not going to feel the same way as that kickback does. It's the same argument I have with people that say, but I feel it better. Well, I feel an extension better than I feel a squat too. Should I just throw the squats out and do extensions?
Yeah.
Right.
So meat and potatoes is where it's at. If you're trying to put on tissue, that's your secret. Basics.
I mentioned it earlier, but loading, being able to load an exercise is very important. So like there's some people that are all about EMG studies, you know, and they'll say, oh, the EMG study says that, you know, this exercise is superior to this exercise. But because the EMG lights up more when, you know, they pull their bicep into the contraction or whatever. But if you're also very unable to load that exercise more, and there's no stress in the stretch position, then it doesn't really matter what the EMG study says about the contraction, because we know that the stretch load is very important, and you know, tension through the muscle, mechanical tension is very important. There's a lot more than just an EMG, because there's certain exercises that show up really good on an EMG, but they're very hard to load. They're very impractical. They're not stressful in the stretch position. There's not a lot of mechanical tension. So there's that has to be taken into consideration as well. So for example, like I mentioned, lunges. For, let's say a girl wanted to grow her glutes, I would say, well, you should be doing, instead of lunging, say, with a free bar, I would lunge on a Smith machine.
Okay.
Because you're a lot more stable. You don't have to worry about balancing. You can stay on that one leg at a time. So you got more tension, boom, boom, boom. You can take that muscle to failure and then switch legs instead of alternating. And then there's hip thrusts. I would use a good machine, like, you know, we have a hammer machine hip thrust, which is probably the best one. They can load the shit out of their glutes with the machine like that. They're super stable. They're locked in. You know, so those exercises would be superior to me for generally putting the most amount of volume onto that muscle. So, like Braden and I did, for fun, we did hanging off the incline bench doing like curls to the forehead the other day.
Right. Yeah.
And we decided let's do some spider curls, right? And the next day, the outside head of my bicep was sore.
Nice.
Right.
And I was like, those were really great for that contraction. But there's no stretch load
Yeah.
at all. Like the barbell's just hanging. Like your
Yeah.
bicep almost relaxes at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So technically, those probably aren't the best exercise for getting your arms to grow. But they were fun, and we did them for a crazy pump.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to just train the bicep as efficiently as possible, I would use a preacher curl, machine preacher curl,
Yeah. I love
or
machines.
something where you're locked in and there's tension through the whole range. That's how I think generally.
Do you guys remember generation plus ago now in bodybuilding and this is like before Bikini, every girl was doing plyos. They had their plyo routine.
Oh yeah.
That was like the thing, they lifted, but then they also had their plyo routine, and that was like a thing they did with like dumbbells every other day or whatever. Remember, that was the thing. I'm with you guys 100%. I think there is something to like the specificity of like the Brett Contreras glute stuff.
Yeah,
like you're
I think Brett's awesome.
You're gonna get a
Brett's
lot out of
great.
that, but you can't just do that stuff.
He's able to explain it properly too. Like if you're a bikini girl and you're specifically trying to bring that very upper outer part of the glute, then technically you should add some of these in.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah,
And part of it I think is because like you're doing in his training, it might be like 4 glute days a week or 4 lower body days a week, and the physiques are just so freaking, it's crazy to see. We're lucky enough to have been in this sport long enough to have seen the birth of Bikini, to see where that started, to see where it's developed into today, no pun intended, developed, and to see like the offshoots. Like, look at the way the division as a whole has changed, even in the presentation, due to the Bikini routines. And then, of course, wellness as being an offshoot from that, because you just can't contain some of those girls. They have to keep growing.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that, if you're going to do something that is so absolutely extreme with the lower body, there is going to be some more volume. So you can't do that, like the hard, heavy stuff 4 times. You can't do like the squats, the hacks, 4 times a week like that. But you can't leave.
You just don't throw them away.
Yeah, you can't leave that stuff out. To me, that's the foundation,
And when you mention a guy like Brett Contreras, he's got his girls like they're hip thrusting like 500 pounds.
Yeah, they're strong.
Right. So they're still following that principle of get strong on those big movements that take the most tissue through the range of motion.
Yeah, and then do your clamshells.
Yeah. So they're still violently strong. Yeah.
No, I've seen some of the videos of the wellness girls training.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah, they're squatting 3 plates.
It is brutal.
They're Smith squatting 3 plates, yeah.
Their trainer is screaming in their face, forced reps. I mean, you're like, that's one of the most awful workouts I've ever seen in my life. And then they're like, I do this 3 days a week. And you're like, how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing, too, I'll throw out there is I've seen issues, you are developing imbalances, right? And so you can create pelvic floor issues where you get like the posterior tilt issues with your tailbone, and there are. So I guess too, I would say that think about, it's impossible, but think about balancing that out to a degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's essentially what they're doing. It's an art. I mean, Brett has really, he's the guy in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because he's doing, like what you said, he's doing both. He's saying, okay, this is the meat and potatoes, but the sledgehammer is not always the tool to use. Sometimes we need the scalpel.
Yeah. But you can't do all scalpel all the time,
Exactly.
Yeah. Can't
Very
carve
true.
a pebble.
Yeah.
What do we think?
I think that's it. I think that's about
Yeah,
all
I think we got
Yeah.
plenty.
I blabbered.
Perfect.
I hope I communicated my points.
We got kind of passionate about bikini training,
It happened.
That's cool.
Well, I think people underestimate how hard those girls train.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know how that took place, but I'm like, No, they're literally doing the exact same thing. They're carving, they're building a physique, then carving it down into a perfect thing. It's just done differently, but it's hardcore. And those girls now, they're in shape. It's
a whole new thing. Like, bodybuilding has evolved because of bikini. I'm kind of passionate about bikini,
sure.
in case you guys didn't know.
And they're really strong on core movements.
I fell into working with some bikini girls like 2016, 17, and a couple of them did well. And so then I worked with more of them. And I got like this for a while. I was like doing a lot of bikini competitors, and now I still to this day, man, I love watching the division. It's like, it's cool to see how far they've taken it and how far that division has gone. And like 20 years ago, we would have never looked at that physique and been, you know what I'm saying? Like, we would have never known that the things are possible that they're doing.
Oh, I thought bikini was the most boring thing ever when it came out.
Oh, it was just like
they
beach body,
just look like girls that, like, oh, you were genetically born with a nice body. Yeah. Congratulations. I don't know how we're calling this a sport. And now it demands the same amount of respect, for sure. Yeah,
it's morphed for sure. It's like those waists are freaking just invisible. It's great. Snatched. That's the word they use, isn't it?
I try to be careful using that word.
I try to be careful.
Just saying.
But you see him squatting 2 plates, full depth for reps
at 130
body weights of 130 pounds
off
or
season.
Something crazy. They're squatting 100 pounds over their body weight, and doing hip thrusts with 5 plates aside on the hammer machine, and
I remember
that sort of stuff.
Ron, the first time that I trained legs, the first time I trained legs with Azaria, and like we're squatting and she throws 225 on and does 15 like nonstop, Scott, and then just puts them up. Like, she wasn't even near failure, and I was like...
And that was like 2013?
Like, how is this... I mean, and she's tiny. And I'm thinking, how... effortless pull-ups.
Yeah.
30. I'm like, what?
And then you guys want to see a hard diet? Look at a bikini girl's diet.
Yeah, John Meadows did it once.
3 ounces of chicken, 3 ounces of fish.
John Meadows made the 202 doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, he just actually took a client's diet and was like, I'll do this.
Yeah.
That'll get it done.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Remember, IamMutant.com. Get your ISO surge, get your all in, and everyone get on the gear. Codes Dusty or Big Ron. You don't have to leave your house. No people.
None.
No touching, no talking, nothing. You're going to love it. Okay. Thanks, guys. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, and...
ring the bell. Any questions from that show?
Yes. We actually covered a contest today, and we talked about 2 competitors from the entire show.
We did.
That's as good as it gets for us.
That's as good as it gets. We are not
We kind of brushed on Regan as well.
We barely mentioned. Yeah. 2 is given us a lot.
1.2.
Yeah. There's like hundreds of people in the show.
Yeah.
And we mentioned 2. So we're very happy about that. Thanks, guys. Leave comments. We love your comments. We love your questions. Let us know why you watch us. Let us know if we're helping you through anything. Let us know if you play us for your spouse, to let them know what you're listening to. We love all the side stories we get.
I've had a few say they haven't listened just to know that it could be worse.
Yeah. This one I'm listening to, like, it's nonsense. Like, I'm listening to, don't worry about a thing. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. And remember, it's just bodybuilding.